Have you ever found yourself staring up at the ceiling at 2 in the morning, totally, completely physically exhausted, but your brain just feels like it's running a marathon? Yeah, you're definitely not alone. Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into a really surprising overlap between ancient astrological concepts and modern sleep science. We're unpacking a specific phenomenon from our source material called the restless mind, seeking stillness in the 12th house. If you've ever battled with tossing and turning all night, this explainer is going to connect some incredible dots for you. We're going to break down exactly why this mental friction happens, and more importantly, how to actually find that elusive stillness. All right, let's jump right in.
Part 1. The Racing Nighttime Mind.
So, when we talk about this restlessness, we aren't just talking about mild insomnia. It's that exact moment your head hits the pillow, and bam, suddenly every unsolved problem from the last 5 years comes rushing in. Why won't your mind slow down when the day ends? It is so incredibly frustrating, right? The day's over, the lights are out, there is literally nothing left for you to do right now, and yet your mental engine is revving way higher than it did at noon. It honestly feels like a betrayal by your own biology. It's a pain point millions of us experience every single night.
And this brings us to the absolute core of the problem. The body is ready for rest, but your thoughts just keep racing. Physically, your muscles are totally shot. Your eyes are heavy. You are biologically primed and ready for sleep. But mentally you are sprinting. It's this exact friction, the physical need to shut down violently colliding with a mental inability to turn off. It creates the ultimate recipe for insomnia. But where does this weird disconnect actually come from?
Well, let's look at Section 2, Rahu in the 12th house.
To really get to the root of this mental friction, our source material introduces an astrological framework that captures the experience perfectly. Let's look at the two halves of this placement. First up, we've got the 12th house. This governs sleep, dreams, the subconscious, and solitude. I want you to think of the 12th house like a quiet, dark sanctuary. It's the natural, restorative domain where we're supposed to retreat, process our day, and just recharge. It's the realm of letting go, of basically fading into peaceful unconsciousness, totally away from the noisy, demanding outside world.
Okay, now contrast that beautiful, tranquil space with the entity that's moving into it, Rahu. Rahu amplifies curiosity, obsession, and mental activity. It represents this intense, chaotic energy, that part of us that is perpetually hungry for more stimulation, more answers, just more information. It's essentially the ultimate what-if generator, constantly pushing boundaries and obsessively chewing on ideas. So imagine throwing that hyperactive, incredibly curious energy directly into the middle of a dark, silent meditation retreat. Honestly, it's a bit like handing a toddler a double espresso in a quiet library. That is Rahu in the 12th house. It is the collision of two exact opposites. Your subconscious sanctuary is actively being invaded by a relentless desire to obsess and analyze. This framework perfectly explains why those restless nights happen. Now let's see how this ties into our modern understanding.
Moving on to Section 3, the science of sleeplessness.
You really don't have to be a student of astrology to recognize this pattern, because it perfectly mirrors exactly what modern neuroscience and sleep experts are telling us today. Just look at this comparison. On one side, we have the astrological triggers, basically feeding the mind endless information. And on the other, the science triggers, excessive screen time, stress, unresolved emotions, constant stimulation. Guys, they are functionally identical. From a sleep science perspective, when we doom scroll in bed or drag our workplace stress onto our pillows, we are manually triggering that exact same chaotic Rahu energy. Whether you want to call it astrological amplification or neurological overstimulation, the end result is exactly the same. Your brain is simply way too lit up to let you rest.
Which brings us to Section 4, granting permission to rest.
So if constant stimulation is the real culprit here, how do we actually fix it? Well, we have to consciously shift our approach to the end of our day. It asks a pretty profound question. Have you actually given your brain permission to rest? Because the issue isn't whether your brain is active. I mean, of course it's active. The real question is whether you've allowed it to power down. So many of us blast our brains with emails, videos, and stress right up until the exact second we close our eyes, and then we expect sleep to just magically happen. But the brain doesn't work like a light switch. It's much more like a dimmer. It desperately needs a clear signal that the day's work is actually done.
This specific placement suggests a core shift in mindset. We must learn to quiet the mind rather than feeding it endless information. When that restless energy strikes at 2 a.m., the impulse is almost always to grab our phone, read another article, or try to somehow tire the brain out by consuming even more data. But honestly, that just adds fuel to the fire. You have to actively choose to stop feeding the machine.
Thankfully, our source gives us 4 highly actionable steps to put this into practice and directly counter all that hyperactive energy. Step 1. Create calming routines to build a solid buffer zone between your busy day and sleep. Step 2. Reduce digital distractions. Just put the screens away and kill that blue light that's keeping your mind on high alert. Step 3. Practice meditation. This actually trains your brain to observe racing thoughts without immediately attaching to them. And Step 4. Embrace silence. We have to stop trying to fill the quiet void with podcasts or the TV playing in the background. By implementing these steps, you really can genuinely transform those restless nights into deep, restorative sleep.
Finally, let's look at Section 5, Rahu's ultimate lesson. We've mapped the ancient to the scientific and laid out the practical steps, but there's a deeper philosophical takeaway here regarding our whole relationship with stillness. True peace begins when the mind stops chasing every thought and allows stillness to take its place. It is so incredibly tempting to hunt down the answer to every late-night anxiety, to chase every single curiosity down the rabbit hole. But you don't have to catch every thought, you can just let them go. So tonight, when you find yourself staring up at the ceiling again, I want you to ask yourself, are you going to keep running the maze, or are you finally ready to let the stillness in? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep resting, and I'll catch you next time.